Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Alex. I'm a real estate investor, and today we have a deal breakdown for you. Just a cool little duplex, cool, really interesting deal that I wanted to share the details on, and tell you how we found it, how it's going, what we did to improve it, and that sort of thing. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm calling this the 1.49% interest rate duplex, and you'll see why in a minute. So the deal overview. This is in Dubuque, Iowa, which you guys probably know. This is the main market where most of my rentals are. The acquisition method. So how we found the deal, how I found the deal. This was through off-market lead generation, so it's not like it was on Zillow or anything like that. It was actually through a text message campaign that I had set up via text message marketing. The software that I used was REI Reply. And the funding. How did we get the money to take this thing down? So actually used a combination of a subject to transaction, a seller finance transaction, and some private money. And kind of breaking that down a little bit more here. So creative finance. There was an existing loan on this property for $63,000 and it had an excellent interest rate. And ended up buying it at $120,000. So that 2.8% interest, $63,000 loan, I ended up just taking over. I bought the property subject to the first mortgage of roughly $63,000 XYZ. So now I'm the one making that payment now, and the seller is no longer. And then on the remaining $57,000, they actually seller financed me that equity at 0% interest. So if I'm doing my math right, trying to blend the interest rates with the timelines, I believe it's 1.49%. Effective interest rate. So that's pretty cool. And then structure it. Actually, there's zero down payment and there's no balloon in this deal either. So it's a pretty good deal. Some question that I get a ton from people when I talk about these deals is, why would a seller ever do something like that? And really, the problem here is you're putting your brain in that specific seller's head, right? So it is a lot of marketing and a lot of filtering, and yeah, you're right, most people it's not the best fit for them. They should just go with a real estate agent listed on the market, right? But there is a group of people out there that would benefit the most from working with an investor, and we could structure it like this, right? So this particular seller was a tired landlord, and she had owned the property for a long time, and she was like just getting worn out. She was totally overwhelmed. That she had a lot of tenant problems. The tenants were not treating her very nice, honestly. There was a lot of repairs at the property. Not a lot of repairs, but there were some repairs that needed to be done. The city was kind of getting after her about some stuff. One of the units actually recently went vacant. So if you know about relisting a unit, like that's quite a bit of work. So it's just there's a lot going on with the property. And on top of that, she was looking at selling it, but it was constantly getting lowballed because of that situation, right? Because it was vacant, needed a couple of repairs. The other cash investor offer she was getting, she really would not have walked away with hardly anything over her mortgage. So instead, we were able to structure a deal like this, where she was able to get, a very, very nice purchase price, pay much less in taxes, just because she's willing to structure it creatively and create a win-win situation for the both of us. Yeah, and to break down that capital structure just a little bit more, again, 63,000 roughly was that 2.8% interest loan that we bought or we took over subject to. Then created a note for $57,000 for her equity, and then we also had a note on top of that from a private money lender. Not a big one, just because it's good practice, I think, to not put any of your own money in a real estate deal, and you need to get good at flexing that muscle and building that connection. So I have a private money lender on this deal that I am paying 8% or 12% interest every single month. They just get a check in the mail. They don't have to deal with tenants, toilets, nothing like that. So kind of nice for them. And then it allowed me to not have to put any of my own money in the deal, and I can spend more money on marketing or XYZ, right? So super beneficial for both. The due diligence, right? So I think when you're doing due diligence on a property or a deal, it kind of breaks down into two main parts, right? So it's the market level. Is this a good market to invest in? And then the property level. So what are the due diligence for both of those? So when you're looking at the location, this one's in Dubuque, Iowa. There's a couple reasons that I like this area. To be honest with you, the main one is operator knowledge. It's this last bullet point here, and the reason being is I lived in Dubuque for a couple years, and I no longer do. But the time I was there, I obviously had time. I know every single street. I know every single neighborhood. I know which parts of town are nice and which are not so nice. I've taken the time to build up the resources. So now I know a bunch of handymen. I know a bunch of realtors. I know like the government people that I have to deal with. Different connections, photographers, people who can help me get things done here. So I've taken time and vetted and built up a larger vendor list in this area, and I have good market knowledge of the particular area. And on top of that too, the other things you want to definitely check for, it's like you want to invest in an area where people are moving to. Like I would almost never, I don't want to say never, but I really would not want to invest in a town or area that the population is going down, that the people are leaving. And Dubuque County does have, population growth. It's not like a crazy ton, but it's growing. People are either moving there or having babies. It doesn't really matter, I guess, but the population is going up. And then also the income growth. You want to make sure that there is, new jobs, the job market is growing, the income is growing, stuff like that. So, and then the median home prices, they are rising. So there is appreciation in this market. So prices of the houses do go up over time. Oop. Okay, and then looking at the particular deal itself. So when I was looking at buying it, this is how it was currently performing actually. So there was one unit was vacant, the other unit was paying $650. Her that mortgage was about $285 or so, and then taxes, insurance, maintenance, management, vacancy repairs. Those are things you always want to take out. She was paying somebody for the lawn care, snow removal, and then I believe she was also paying for some of the utilities for both of the units. I believe she was paying the water on both of them. So as you can see, it was not a cash flowing deal, especially obviously since one unit was vacant. So, and this is actually the current. This is the numbers that we took it to. So ended up taking it to getting it rent out, bumped rents, did some minor improvements, and cash. Now it's cash flowing $200 per month. Like I said, we increased the rents and we actually decreased the operating expenses as well. So, what did we do there? There was like a very small lawn actually, and it sucks because you had to pay somebody to come out and like drive the truck out, unload their mower, mow it for like it's like a 10-foot strip of lawn basically. And so they're gonna charge like $40 every single time, even if it's like a 10-second mow. Like they still have to do all the other stuff. So that did not make sense. So instead, we ended up just doing some permanent landscaping there. I think it was like $200 or maybe a little bit more. But obviously, in 1 month, that gets paid back from not having to pay your landscaping guy to come out there and mow it all the time. So decrease the lawn and snow to zero, and the tenants are responsible for snow removal, shoveling snow, and then also the utilities. So now we put those in all the tenants' names, so we're not the ones paying the utilities anymore. And I think that's super beneficial for two reasons. Make sure the tenants are paying their utilities if at all possible. One, it more aligns incentives, right? Because if think about it, if you're living in a place and you're not the one paying the water bill, like you don't care, like you're gonna let the water run, you're gonna take super long showers. If there is a water leak that you see it's dripping, you're not the one paying for it. You're just less likely to say something too. So you want to align incentives as much as possible, and that means having the tenants pay. And then also, the second thing is it does make your property more marketable, I think, right? Because the number one thing that people look at when you're advertising your rental is the rent price. And if the tenant is paying their own utilities, your rent price is going to be a little bit lower. So it's just be a little bit more attractive as a rental, even if it ends up being the exact net same, the net amount of money to live in for them. Just having your rent being lower, and you can advertise my rent's here versus the other person, their rent's up here, makes your property more marketable. And then just to look at the rest of the numbers here, purchase price $120,000. Closing costs ended up being about $2,300. Renovations, nothing crazy. It was about $5,000 total. So you can see the cash to do the deal was $7,300, and that is where the private money lender came in. Rented one unit out, cleaned it up a little bit, rented it for 800. Took that other unit, haven't touched it, but ended up pushing their rent up to 710. So now we're at a little over $1,500 per month in income. This unit two actually does have some more room to increase. The tenants there now, they're really not that big of a headache. Or maybe over the next 6 months, a year, something like that, we'll go in and improve their unit, raise the rents and stuff. But for the time being, they're okay right now. So I ended up taking over that 285, paying tax, insurance, um, and then obviously all the expenses. Took the lawn and snow to zero, utilities to zero, and then we did have to add in that additional private money lender payment and stuff like that. So, but still, good numbers here. $200 cash flow. The cash on cash return is very good. Technically, since I didn't put any of my own money in the deal, this is actually incorrect. So that should be infinite. Like if you want to dork out about that, but assuming I did use my own $7,000, this would be a 31% cash on cash return, and additionally the IRR in is a very high. It's over 100% IRR, and that takes into account all the other advantages of owning real estate, right? So if I get the actual cash of the property, I also get X dollars in tax benefits from depreciation and other stuff from owning real estate. I get the appreciation of the property, like I assume a very low 1% appreciation. The property value goes up over time, so I get that. That's my benefit. And then additionally, what am I forgetting here? Cash flow, appreciation, depreciation, principal pay down. So that one's going to be really big on this one. Since that interest rate is so low on the first mortgage and then it's zero on the second, there's a huge amount of principal pay down happening every single time that I do make a payment. So a good portion of the 285 that I am paying to the bank, the first mortgage, a good portion of that just is like goes in my equity piggy bank, and then all of the second portion, right, that I'm paying to the seller for the seller finance portion, that goes into my equity piggy bank as well. So very good IRR on this one. Lessons learned, always try to look and see, what did we learn here, and how can we use that going forward. One is always solve a problem. You have to provide value to somebody for it to be a good win-win situation. And if you don't provide any value, there's no reason for anyone to do a deal like this with you. A person is going to do a deal like this with you if you are the best available option that they have at that time. So if you offer a better situation to them than listing on MLS, going with a realtor XYZ, that's when they go with you. So you need to solve a problem. Value add opportunities. Obviously, this is huge. This is I hesitate to call it Duplex as multifamily, but it technically is. Looking for more and more value add opportunities. Buy a property that I see that I can reduce that expense. I can increase that income. I can bump rents. I can add paid parking. I can do XYZ, right? So look for value add opportunities. And then this is also the first property that I've ever personally purchased, completely sight unseen. Like I've never even seen this property in person. I didn't even mention that. So yeah, I've never been here. I've only seen pictures of it and stuff like that. But this really did help me iron out the process for the due diligence, the repairs, renting it, all doing that remotely. So it just helped me get my systems and processes, develop a couple standard operating procedures for making all that happen to make sure I can get an accurate condition, accurate rents and stuff like that. So that did certainly help. And then, so if this is something that's interesting to you, I definitely want to invest with you together. So I've been rewarded greatly by partnerships every single time. I genuinely have. So every single time, it's you bring something, they bring something. The things are different, and you add them together, and it's a sum. The sum is greater than the individual parts, right? So you can benefit from it in a ton of different ways, right? Education, relationships, connections, and then again, just more profit too. So, and then I already kind of mentioned this too, but good partnerships, they're the only path to true success. I look around at the people who are running these super large real estate portfolios and stuff like that. Very, very, very large. They're all teams. They're all groups, stuff like that. So I definitely want to use that as an example and kind of enlighten myself, and success leaves clues. So that is something I'm extremely interested in. So if you are interested in investing together, I've got a link in the description. Let's hop on a call. Let's see how we can work together.